Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 10.
Welcome back. Oh my god, we're in the double digits.
Oh my god, good for us.
Yeehaw.
Isn't that like the number most podcasts don't make it to?
Yeah, I don't think mine did. I think I stopped at 9, actually.
Are we breaking the mold? Are we becoming more than
Oh my
just a
God.
statistic?
Wow.
I love that for
Guys.
us. We're doing it.
Celebrating.
Yeah, cheers with my water. Woohoo!
Yeah, we've become slightly less unhinged with the drinking. Noticed I kind of slur when I drink on the podcast. So
Oops.
we are sober.
We're switching to water.
It's for the best. We're already
We're doing it
crazy
for you.
enough. So unhinged enough without alcohol into play. Okay.
Correct.
Did you see that the mayor in Nashville or mayor of Tennessee
Yes.
is trying to silence Broadway?
Yeah. I was like, what? So apparently the
we
mayor's...
gotta get like one last hurrah if that happens.
I know.
God.
So apparently the mayor is trying to like implement this like decibel level that's like 20 decibels lower than what's allowed right now on Broadway in Nashville. Like they wouldn't be allowed to like have their music playing outside or like keep the doors or windows open. Like it would just be a very different Broadway.
Mm-hmm. And like they could come and shut down the bar if it was too loud. And like that's where they make a living. Like this is just so. I mean, this episode is gonna be posted in like on the 14th, so I don't know what
yeah.
the update's
I know
gonna
what
be
will
by
happen
then,
by
but
then.
like I don't know. We'll update you guys on the stories as always. So make sure you're following us on Socially Unfiltered Pod on Instagram, TikTok. Rate us, like us, review. It would mean so much. Share us. We love seeing you guys tag us on your stories, which we talked about in the last episode. Like it's been so fun seeing people like listening and tagging us. So like tag us in your stories that you're listening.
We feel
But yeah,
connected.
make sure you're keeping up.
Keep up
We
with
feel
us.
intertwined.
We are one. We are all one being connected by the stars. But speaking of how this episode's going to come out later, kind of what we're talking about today, kind of mentioned
Yes.
it in the last episode, but Veronica will be quote unquote not in the office next
On
week.
vacay in my own hometown.
Yeah. A little staycation.
Well, not next week to you guys, but next
Yes.
week as currently right now on August 1st.
Yes. So we just wanted to get an episode recorded so while Veronica's gone, she doesn't have to worry about that. Because I think we said Gabby's coming to town. So that's super exciting.
Yes.
I can't wait to watch with all my FOMO, your stories and everything.
I'm literally going to block you.
No, please do. Like, hide me from your story. Tell Gabby too. Gabby, here's your part of the
You'll
episode.
just see
Block
the
me from your
post.
story.
Yeah. It'll just be the posts. You can mute
Yeah.
us. Just
I'm just going
I
to unfollow you
can't
guys for the week.
see. I'm blind. Just block us. It's fine.
But yeah, we wanted to kind of talk about how basically pros and cons of having a flexible schedule like that, being able to kind of work quote unquote from anywhere, quote unquote whenever.
Yeah.
And just kind of what goes into taking a vacation as a freelancer, somebody in our position. So like we said, definitely geared towards our social media managers with this episode. But honestly, really any business owner, I feel like this can be kind of applicable. So starting with the pros and cons of a flexible schedule, obviously a huge pro is that we get to do something like this where we make sure everything's good to go for the week that you're going to be gone, and then you get to fully disconnect from the podcast at least for that week, or like not having to record. We'll still obviously be doing other things.
Still posting. Don't worry.
Yeah, so we'll still be here. But there's a lot of cons that come with that too, and we kind of touched on it in the last episode. Like I had a really hard time implementing boundaries when I first started, you know, like working hours. That was kind of unheard of. I was just kind of answering things whenever, responding to people whenever, doing work whenever. And I've gotten a lot better about it. But a few years ago, definitely looked a lot different than it does now. But it can definitely be a struggle for some people to have a flexible schedule. And a lot of people don't realize, like when they step into the freelancing world, that you have to have a lot of self-discipline. Like you have to be able to balance things, like find the balance between working for 14 hours a day and not working for 14 hours a day.
Still struggle with that.
Yes.
For being honest.
Same.
I don't have a schedule down.
I mean, I really
feel
honestly
like-
don't either. Like, I kind of know what days certain things need to be done and I'll time
Yeah,
block certain things in. But like, as the week goes,
Yeah.
like, some things might be able to shift around. But some people need that structure. Like, some people need to be able to have somebody else kind of not dictate your work schedule, but, you know, even like something as simple as like not going into an office, like working from
Yeah.
home, that can be incredibly boring. It can be isolating. It can be lonely, which is why like I'm so for, we were just talking about this before we started recording. I have a client that I go into their office once a week. And a lot of people would be like, oh, well, that's them like controlling your schedule or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but like it's the difference of working at my house or working in an office.
Yeah.
So
I do wish I had like a place to go. I mean, I
Same.
could go to like a coffee shop or something like that, but it's hard because
So
I
different.
love my setup. We were just talking about this. Like, love my setup at home, love my big screens and like dual screen and like be able to just go do whatever in my house. But you get so comfortable and like conform to that it's like you don't go anywhere and it is kind of isolating. Like, it can definitely feel. Like, I feel like that's the con of, like, yeah, you get to work from home and, like, on your own schedule, but you also get, like, super lonely. And, like, I'm not a person that can just, like, FaceTime with someone and, like, work. Like, I don't want
I
to
don't
do
co-work.
that. But, yeah, it's
Imagine
just
if
no
we could and we were
co-working.
just like on FaceTime all day together. I'm just like,
No, we wouldn't
set
get
you
shit
up.
done. We would just talk the entire
I
time.
know.
Like, that's when I was in an office, like, with my internship and, like, part-time job that I was in an office. Like, half of the time, you're just shooting the shit and, like, going over to
Literally.
each other's desks and, like, chit-chatting and, like, going and grab a snack. And, like, is that really productive of my time? Like, I could work from home and work from, like, 8 to 1 and get everything done and then kind of chill the rest of the day. Or I can be in an office and stretch all of the things that I had to do into 9 hours and be like, oh my God, I could have like used this time so much better, or like could be doing something else because I have to be here till 5. So it's like,
Right.
that's a great part of it is like you can work on your own time. And
Prioritize your
But-
own tasks. Like, you know.
it is so hard though. Like, it's so hard to make your own schedule. Like, there are times where no one's gonna wake you up.
No.
Your alarm's going off and you're like, oh, it's fine, I don't have a meeting till 10, or like, I don't have to do this till tonight. And then you push it off and then
then you
you're
keep pushing it
scrambling.
off.
Yes. And then you're up at night working. Like, I mean, yesterday I kind of did that. Like, I didn't start until 10 yesterday and then I worked till 11:30 at night. But I also wanted to get stuff done because I knew we
Right.
were recording 2 episodes today. So it's like you kind of pick and choose when you want to work, which is the nice part. But there's really never any, like, I don't know, time off, I guess. Like, even though I'm not going to be recording the podcast, like, I still have to post for my clients. I still have to do stories. I still have to post reels manually. Like, I'm still engaging every single day. Like,
Right.
it's not fully ever turned off.
You're not
like
fully
in a corporate job, you could
disconnected.
you could just leave and not think about your job for 2 weeks or whatever.
Right.
But
That's like another
You
hot
will- yeah.
button topic is working, quote unquote, while you're on vacation. You know, we see people talking about, oh, you can work from anywhere, you can do this from anywhere, and blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And it's like, well, but can you?
have you tried to work from the beach? Because it's literally not fun.
Not
And,
fun.
like, by the pool, like, unless you're under the shade, like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't be on my laptop while I'm like,
Right. In the pool.
and then you feel like you're missing out if you're like
Mm-hmm.
in the hotel room or something and everyone else is like getting to have fun. And I don't know, I just think this, so many people are like, oh, travel and like
Mm-hmm.
travel the world and work from home and all this stuff. It's like, yes, you can totally do that, but the work still has to get done at some point. So it's
Right.
like whether you're doing all of that work beforehand or you're like staying up late at night, or maybe you have a team, like we talked about this, like maybe you have a team of people that you can delegate those things to. But then again, you have to tell that team what to do and take the time to like communicate and delegate and assign tasks and make sure it's getting completed and like approve it. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like truly as a business owner and entrepreneur, there's no off ever.
Right. Because, like, even when we went to Nashville, like, we spent time every morning, like, what, like an hour of each of us just
Yeah.
making sure our clients were good to go for that day, like, answering anything that needed to be answered, even though we were technically on vacation. And, like, that didn't take away from our experience at all. So, like, we were obviously okay with that. And that's kind of the cool thing, again, about this flexible schedule and work life is, like, your work can go with you. But it's like I feel like people glamorize it so much that like, oh, you can like bring your laptop to the beach. And I'm like, my phone stops working when it's in the sun for like 10 minutes. Like
Yeah,
it gets so
literally,
hot that
it's
it shuts off.
overheating.
Right.
My battery's dead.
Yeah. So
I'm
I'm like,
hot.
you're
I'm
not
sweating.
working at the
I
beach.
can't.
Relax. Like you're not. And like, don't get me wrong. Like,
No.
would it be nice? Like so last year I went on a cruise and that was a little bit different of a situation just because like Wi-Fi was so unpredictable and I knew that it was going to be like that, but I figured it would be fine enough for me to do 30 minutes of posting in the morning and like legit it would take me like an hour and a half every morning to post my clients content because of how bad the Wi-Fi was, that like it just took
Yeah.
forever for things to load. And like one of my clients had a giveaway that was ending that week, so I had to like record the winner being picked and blah blah blah. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my god, like this would be so much easier if I just had somebody I could have left this stuff with. But that's another thing is like, think about the time you spend beforehand, like relaying all of these messages to this person that's doing this work for you. Like,
Yeah.
and we've talked about like pros and cons of having a team. So it's not anything we haven't talked about, but there's two very different experiences of going on vacation. Like, as
Yeah.
somebody who owns a business, like you're either spending hours and hours and hours the week before doing everything you would normally have to do that week, or you're doing it while you're there. And either way, it takes away from the experience.
Yeah, can never fully ever turn off. And yeah, even if you do have a team, like I had Gabby posting like stories for me when I went to the Dominican with Mark recently. And even then, like I still had to post reels every single morning and like I had to approve all the stories that were going up. So like I still had to be on my phone and like she sent them to me and I would approve them. But it's not like I'm ever like, I'm literally leaving my phone in the room and I don't have to, it's not an emergency. I understand. Like there's no
Right.
like marketing emergency, but I still have to get my posts up because I'm being paid for making that content. Like even in Nashville, I was editing reels for like my client because I didn't have enough time that week to just finish everything I wanted to. So like yeah, it's just that balance, but it is nice and I am grateful that we were able to do that instead of like, oh, we can't leave until Friday or night or like
I have
I
to
can't
request
take
time
off.
off.
I have to request time off and it won't get approved and like I'm out of vacation days. Like we can literally pick up and go whenever we want. It's just all about your time management and like when you want to figure out where you're going to do extra work or like if you're going to work on the trip. You just have to find what works for you.
And it
But
can be
definitely
hard
pros and
because
cons.
it comes with a lot of self-discipline. Like for me personally, if I know I'm taking a week off, like I try to do all of that stuff the week before, which means I'm
Yeah.
technically working double the amount in one week, but then the next week I'm not doing anything. So like it all balances itself out. But it's like
Yes.
where you pick and choose to put that time, because before we went to Nashville, like we all tried to like batch everything and have it ready to go, that morning we didn't have to, get on a client call to like
Yeah.
approve client or content. Like there's ways to go about it. There's ways to get yourself ahead. But like pretty much every vacation I've ever been on, I spend the morning doing my posts. Like that's just such a daily part of my life that like, and even something like that, like I know we kind of already said this, but transferring that work over to somebody, like not only do you have to explain, okay, make sure you're tagging this location, make sure you're tagging these people, make sure you add this audio, like it's so much work that at that point,
Yes.
isn't it just kind of worth it to do like yourself that morning?
It is a lot of work. Like delegating tasks, like I did not expect it to be like not hard, but just so time consuming. Like when I was
Right.
having Gabby do a lot more every single Sunday night, I knew I had to have it done because like
Right.
I needed it done for her on Mondays of like edit this, have to upload all of the videos that I needed edited and label them by like which one's going to go first or like what's in the video. I had to do like what I wanted for the text and she would like pick the sound and edit it, but it's like I had to upload all that in the Google Drive, then I had
Right.
to assign the task, then the due date, then like post the stories, and this is what we need to highlight for this week. Like instead of me just knowing in the back of my brain, I had to like put it out there on not paper, put it out there like physically
Right.
for her to be able to see of everything that needs to get done. So it's like even if you do have a team, it still took me like probably over an hour to just
Right.
put everything in to be like this is what needs to be posted. Like in the content calendar I would like have all the photos that need to go up, and it's just a lot of work. And like who to tag, like you said, it's just a lot to even delegate. Also it's very helpful, but you still have to like
Exactly.
take that time out of your week. So like every Sunday I would have to sit down for an hour and be like, okay, this is what needs to be done for this week. And it changes week to week.
It's funny too because like we kind of do that with the client too. And like
Yes.
every week when I'm or like every other week when I'm sitting
Yeah.
down and writing these outlines, I'm like, why don't I just go in and like make these? Like I obviously have them all listed out right now. Like I can see everything that I want done, but then I'm
Yeah.
like, no, it's actually like so helpful to
It's so
have
helpful.
that
'Cause
last
it would
step
take me
taken
double that
away.
time.
Right,
Yes.
exactly. And it's so funny because like
It's my
not
time too.
right, because like that's what it comes down to is the time. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
not, it's always me looking at it and being like, wow, like I just did everything that needed to be done. Like I might as well just do this last step. But that
Yeah.
last step is like being able to shut your brain off
Yeah.
at that last step is so helpful. Like I send that blueprint away and finished content
Yep.
comes back to me, and like that's a game changer. Like that's
Yeah.
insane. It's so incredibly helpful, but exactly like you said, I'm spending an hour writing everything up, and at that point I'm like,
Yep.
should I just be fucking doing this? Like what am I doing? But then I look at how much time is saved after that and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's where it makes
exactly.
up.
Same. That's how I felt too. Like when I kind of pulled back a little bit and I started doing more, I was like, oh my God, I was so used to like this being done. And it was only taking me an hour to say, like, here's what you need to do.
Right.
And then I was like, okay, well, now it's taking me like double that because I have to do it myself. And like, I don't have that second person. So like, it does make a difference for sure. But you have to like know that this person's not going to just be in your head and know exactly what to do.
Right.
And some people are so disorganized. Like, I made sure I have it down to like, this is the emojis I use for the client. This is the
Yes.
brand voice. Like, this is how we speak. These are examples. Like, I literally broke down every single part of like what I do so it doesn't look any different. Like, my clients didn't know if it was me or Gabby on
And
like
that's
stories
the
or
goal,
like
of course. Is
and
to-
yeah, so they couldn't tell like who it was because I just think the organization and like giving her all the resources that she needed to be like, okay, I understand this client. So not every single time I had to be like, you need to talk this way or you
Right.
need to do this. And people weren't happy or like the client's like, that's not what I wanted, you know? So
Right.
it's also like the trust factor of like trusting someone with your client. You have to really know that they're going to kind of replicate what you do. And I was really nervous about that too.
Oh,
If it
for
was
sure.
going to be like similar to what I do or like how I sound.
Yeah, and like your client knowing, like not that it's anything we would ever try to hide. Like I think
Yeah.
everybody's pretty aware of it, but like it's easier if they just don't even have to know that there's another person like touching this content. Like if they, don't recognize or see a difference, like that's perfect.
Yeah.
Like let's just
Yep.
leave it that way.
Yeah.
Because my big thing with like having somebody help me with anything was I still wanted to be the one communicating with my client. Like not because I didn't want somebody else to do that, but just because kind of what we were talking about before we started recording, like on meetings and stuff, like somebody needs to kind of be that like main point of contact and
Yeah.
for them to not feel like you're just kind of like throwing somebody else in there. Like I just would feel so weird not being the one like actively communicating with my clients every day. Not that
Oh,
there's
yeah,
anything
same.
wrong with that. Like there's literally nothing wrong with that. It's just weird for
Yeah.
me because of my type A personality.
I agree. I'm the one that like does the communication, like the strategy and analytics every month and like going over everything in calls and like
Yep.
all of that, the back end things. Cause I'm like, I need to see everything and be in it. Cause I do feel weird. Like not,
Right.
I would feel weird at least. Like I know there are people with teams obviously that just like hand it off to somebody else, but I would feel weird too of like, if it's not me.
Right. And that's not only time management, but also kind of realizing, like, not necessarily what your strengths and weaknesses are, but like, we could have done it the other way where I was like, hey, can you do the blueprint for this? And I'll just make the content, like, you send it back to me. But like, I knew that it was going to be easier for me with all of the information that my client has relayed to me. It was going to be easier for me to script things out and for somebody else to just like put them in motion. So it's like also
Yeah.
kind of acknowledging where somebody fits in because I've hired people for the wrong things before. Like I've hired somebody to do something for me that like we get going and I'm like, this wasn't exactly what I needed. I've
Yeah.
also straight up had somebody like ghost me after I paid them one time and they didn't do anything. So like I'm just like traumatized from hiring people.
Yeah.
But like,
You trust me, baby.
I do trust you. Yeah, that's why I'm like, literally, don't ever get busy enough that you can't do this. But I'm also like in full support of that. But I've also told you, I'm like, I don't even care if it's you or Gabby or anybody, because like I'm trusting you, and I know that if you trust somebody, not that I don't trust Gabby, but like I know, let's say I didn't know you or Gabby, like if you trust her, I'm putting my trust in you. So I know
Exactly.
that it's okay that this other person's like hands are on things.
Yeah.
So it's all just a lot of, again, kind of the self-discipline is what a lot of it comes down to, is just knowing like what needs to be where and for who and who's doing what. And it can be really overwhelming. Like it can be really hard. That sometimes it makes you like not even want to go on the vacation. Like you're like, I don't even care
No.
anymore. Like I'll just work there.
No, literally, it's hard. Even like delegating the tasks. Some weeks I'm like, oh, I really don't want to do it, or like I don't want to write out what I need done. Like, but I also don't want to do it myself. It's like, it was so annoying. Now it's just like the same thing every month that like I don't have to write things out. Like Gabby's just doing engagement and like editing some videos for me for clients, because we're like, I'm not like crazy busy right now, so I don't need like all of that. But once that does happen again, it's like, oh my god,
And it will soon.
just
It's
delegating.
on its way.
It's on its way. It's happening. No, but like she's getting more of her own clients
I
too.
know.
That like, yeah, it's crazy. You start to realize once you start your own business and start doing the things that like you were hired to do,
Yeah.
kind of like she's like, oh my god, being
is
a
a
business
lot.
owner is crazy. Like this is crazy. Yeah, the things you have to do, because you also can't neglect your own business too.
Right. You have to
It's
literally
just a
treat it like your own
lot.
client.
Having to like have an employee and then also remember about your own business and your clients and make sure everybody has what they need, and then you kind of just like neglect yourself because everyone else is kind of like a priority. Like at least for me, like I know so many other social media managers are like, my content comes first. Like that's the only way you get new clients, obviously, and like people discover you. But I'm like bad about that. I feel like I've always
Same.
put like clients first, because I'm like, no, that shit I know needs to
Yeah.
get done. Like I'm being paid for that. I'm
Right.
not being paid to run my own account, you know?
Which like
Technically
would be
you are, because like you get
Nice.
clients, but
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean technically you are, but at the end of the day it's you're being paid for a service that needs to be delivered.
yeah. And at the end I'm like so exhausted that I don't even want to do my own content. But
Exactly. I'm like, I don't even care about my own content anymore.
yeah, it's so hard. I've been like so bad with my own content.
Same. I would rather you be inconsistent. And I mean, when I say you, I mean also for myself. Like, I would rather anybody be inconsistent with posting or not posting at all than to be forcing themselves to make content that their heart's not
Yeah.
in. Because you can tell. Like, you can tell when somebody's like, oh, I'm just going to throw together a couple of random B-roll clips. And, like, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
sometimes that works if you do it a certain way. But a lot of the times,
Yeah.
you'll see lazy content when people start feeling that way. So I'd rather just
Yeah.
not even bother doing it until my brain and heart are ready to do that again than
Yeah.
to force myself to do it. I feel like we talked a lot about the cons of like being
Yeah.
able to have a flexible schedule. And like
We did.
obviously we know there's a ton of pros. And I feel like the main pro is just being able to do that in general. So I don't ever want
Yeah.
it to sound like we're sitting here being like, oh, it's the worst. Cause like it's not.
Right.
It's the
No.
best.
It's amazing.
But along with all of these things come things that are not so great. And being able to like, you know, force yourself to sit down the week before you're going on a vacation and spend twice the amount
Yeah.
of time working, like nobody wants to do that. I want to like be planning fun outfits for my trip and like
Yeah.
going to get my hair done for my trip. Like I want to be focusing on that. But as a responsible business owner, you have to acknowledge that you're contracted and paid to do certain things and you have to deliver them no matter what's going on in your life. Because I've had somebody ask me if I would ever do this or like if it's an idea that they think is good. Two different things. I've heard of people hiring people like just for that week. Like you just hire somebody just for then to like take it, right? It's like kind of sketchy.
No.
I would never. But I've also heard of people like kind of approaching their clients first and being like, hey, I want to take this entire week off, like completely disconnected. I'm going to refund you back, or I'm just only going to charge you for 3 out of the 4 weeks for this month. That I can get
Yeah.
behind because you're just
Yeah,
straight
yeah,
up being like, you're not
Yeah.
going to pay me for a week of work that I'm not doing. I've personally
Right.
never done that. I would for sure. If I were to ever go on another vacation like I did on that cruise, I would 100% do that because
Yeah.
it was so stressful that entire time, like waiting to see that reel finish uploading. Like it just created more
Yeah.
stress than it needed to.
I think if I went to like Europe
Mm-hmm.
or just like
A
if
big
it's
trip
like your
like
wedding or
that.
something,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
Like
post sorry,
that, you
clients.
probably
I'm not posting your stories
me and my
the day
wedding
of my
dress.
wedding. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's when I would like be like, Gabby, I will
Mm-hmm.
pay you and
The
you
entire
can
week.
if you
Yep.
can yes, if you can post for me while I'm in Italy or whatever, like which will probably happen at some point, like I'll be like, can you
Right.
just take over? Cuz that's where you do want to disconnect and it would be so nice actually to just not have your phone on you for like at least 3 days.
I
Like
haven't
I
done
don't think
that
I haven't
ever.
even gone without my phone for 30 minutes, 20 minutes. Are
Right.
you kidding? I don't know. I'm just like craving that lately because I feel like we've just been
Mm-hmm.
so addicted to all these platforms and just like
Yes.
constantly on. And I mean, I've been a social media manager for like 5, 6 years
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just constantly like
On.
on
Connected.
social media. I'm like sick of just being on
Mm-hmm.
all the time and addicted to it.
But
Like
that's
we
why,
are
like, I
addicted to it.
hate, yeah, for sure. 100%. I get a dopamine rush every time I click that
Yes.
TikTok app.
Every time.
Like, but that's why it's so
Yes.
hard sometimes when I see people who are posting things about,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm going to Bali for the week and I'm going to work and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, like, you better hope your Wi Fi works when you get there. Like, it's
Right.
just, it would be so hard for me to not plan ahead for those things. But also,
Yeah.
like you said, like going on a big trip, like, Italy, Europe, like any, backpacking, like fully disconnected, like
Yeah.
that would be amazing. And like obviously we were lucky enough that like our trip to Nashville, like one, we all understood, like we all
Yes. Thank
knew.
God.
Right. Two, don't get me wrong, that was the trip of a literal lifetime, but it's not worth me like refunding my clients for a week and being like,
No.
hey, like I'm not gonna be on this week. Like, love you
No.
guys so much.
I
but,
would
like,
not have done
of
that.
anybody, I know you guys understand. So it's just
Yes.
hard too because you can take it a lot of different ways. I just don't like seeing the whole like, oh, you can work from anywhere because like it's so
Right.
unreliable that it's hard to plan for
Yes.
that. And like we said before, like
As long as
working
you're a
from the beach or
planner.
a pool is not fun, at least for me.
It's
Like I
not.
don't have a good
It's
time.
not fun. No, it's not realistic. And like if you do prep and you do get ready, like yeah, it sucks to work those extra hours, but then like you're ready to go. All you have to do is like upload your things or like make your 2 stories for the day or whatever it is, and then you can go and enjoy the rest of your day and like not have to be on, which is such a nice balance. Like it really is nice instead of like a 9 to 5, for example. Like if you went
Right.
somewhere and you still had to work, like you would have to
Be
like one of my
clocked in
friends
from
went to
9 to 5.
Florida and like yeah, like I could take just the morning to do all my posts and stuff and be done, but like she had to literally she would come out with like her laptop and work out there for like 20 minutes and then she's like, I can't do this, have to go back inside to take calls. And I'm like, I don't want to be doing that. Like I don't want to be working like that on a trip. So like I am, and I'm sure you are too, like so grateful that we can take that hour and a half in the morning and then that's it for the rest of the day really, unless
Right.
we we'll check in later and like engage with the comments and DMs or whatever. But like yeah, it's not all negative. Like that is an amazing part of it where yes, you're working probably every single day, but it's not
like
as much as like
strenuous,
corporate people
hard
work.
where I'm like scheduling
Yes.
meetings because that's another thing. I always
I'm not on calls. Like I'm
no,
not.
I tell my
doing that.
clients like I always keep them updated. Like when I went, I literally to Nashville, I literally texted all my clients and was like, hey, from this
Yeah.
day to this day, I'm not gonna have my computer. I'm not gonna be able to make edits to our content. Everything will still get posted. Everything will still go up. Text me if you need
Yeah.
anything. But like just a heads up, I'm not gonna be able to do anything new that week. And obviously, again, making sure everything is where it's supposed to be and everybody's content is done. But it's such
Yeah.
a small price to pay to do that like 1 hour of work in the morning to
Yes.
have the entire rest of your day. And it doesn't even have to be the morning. It could be the afternoon. It could be the night. Like it
whenever
could be
you want.
whenever. Yeah. But it's not like you're and if you can do this, that's obviously like more props to you. I just
Yeah.
like have to be in such a certain mindset when I'm like creating content and doing my client work that like at a random Airbnb
Yeah.
in Nashville is like not really where I'm going to do my best work. When I'm like
No.
ready to
I need
like,
all my
go.
screens.
Yeah.
I need my like
mouse, my keyboard.
everything. Like I'm playing music out loud because I'm like matching up things, like editing. Like there's just a lot that goes into it. You can't be like distracted, or at least in this field, like maybe in other fields where like if you're a content creator, then you're out like doing content and stuff. But that's another thing. You can't forget about your content when you're traveling. So like you have to prep your content too. But it is such a small price to pay for like literally we can go whenever we want and do whatever and book any trip and go anywhere. But like that prep is so important. So that is like such a positive. Like we don't have to worry about like requesting time off. We can go whenever we want. And that's literally my favorite part of the job. Like that's the only reason I really wanted to work for myself. Like I was never like in it for the money. Like it was always
that
I just want to like do what I want and like have a flexible schedule, not have to answer to anybody, and like do what I love every day. And like we do really love this field, and we just want to make it like transparent for everybody, because like so many people glamorize it, and like every single job has its like cons.
For sure.
Like when people are like, do what you love every day and you don't work a day in your life.
Bullshit.
Like work feels like work. There are times when work feels like work and I don't want to do something, or like it's not my favorite thing to do, but we still have to do it. But there's times where it's so fun and it doesn't feel like work because we're just like loving what we're doing. So I don't like that phrase. I think it's bullshit. I'm like, no, every job feels like a job at some point. Like not all of it, but
and
it's still a job.
Right. And I feel like it kind of discredits what you do sometimes. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Our job is not like physically strenuous. It's not like mentally strenuous. I mean, it can be, but like there's obviously a lot more people working in like more high stress environments than we are. But like it's still, my brain just sometimes is like, everything is an emergency. It's like such a bad habit, but it's not. But I just feel like it's such like a hot topic of, is it okay to work on vacation? Or like everybody kind of makes it look like, or everybody's like, go unplug for a couple days. And I'm like, how? Like how? And don't get me wrong, that's my own problem to figure out. But like, it's just so easy for people to make that content of the one clip that they have of themselves at the beach on their phone and be like, I work from the beach. And I'm like, no, you don't. You literally took that clip to use in content to say that you do that.
Yeah.
Nobody really
like the
does
days that I've spent like 3 days working by the pool, but I sat in the shade. Like I sat under the umbrella the whole time I was working because I was like, well, I do want to be outside and like by the pool, so I can't have the best of both worlds. I can't be in the sun and working. So I'm like, I'll just compromise and like be in the shade. So like if you want to do that and like still be around, but I knew that the things that I had to do weren't involved around like where I needed to be super concentrated. Like it was little things I was having to do because I prepped before. I knew I was going to go to the pool that day for like a few hours. So I'm like, okay, in the morning, I'm going to do all this stuff that needs to get done where I need to be like really focused. And then in the afternoon, I'll go back and do that too. But in the middle of the day where I'm like by the pool, I'm going to save that and just like do like little captions or something that I need to get done that I can just do distracted a little bit. Like it's not going to, I'm not editing a video. Like,
that's why I feel
I
like
can't do that.
I have two different kinds of tasks that I do. And one of them is like, can only be completed in this spot right here. Like, I have to be in this spot for it to happen. Or
like scheduling content, I will never, ever be able to just do from like my laptop. Absolutely like I can't go to a coffee shop and schedule content and edit all that content.
And if you can, I like commend you. Because like I wish that I could just like pick up my laptop and like run down the street to a coffee shop and just like knock out like 4 hours of work. But my brain does not work like that. Like I have to be in my zone. I have to have my stuff. I love using a mouse like rather than a trackpad. Like there's just so
I also
many...
have like ADHD. Like everything will distract me if I'm in a coffee shop. I'm going to be like, who's walking in? What are they talking about? What drink are they getting? What's the barista saying? Like my mind will be everywhere because it already is at home in my peace and quiet. So like if I'm out somewhere, like that's when I remember like study hall or whatever, like in high school when you would go to the library and it was like quiet time or whatever, like you could go in and get your work done. Literally did not get a single thing done. It talked the entire time, like got yelled at all the time because I was talking. I'm like, I can't sit here in a library and like focus when all these people are around me and like people are walking in. Like I have just always been like that where I just get distracted by the littlest thing, and again, that's my problem. And like, good for you if you can do that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. No, I literally need like 3 screens, like my
Yeah.
laptop, my big screen, my iPad, my phone, everything going.
That's how many
I
things. I
just,
I like driving a rocket
yeah.
ship while I'm working.
No,
Like,
literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 five fucking devices.
same. I have my monitor, my laptop, my iPad, and both phones right here. And like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, like I hate that. Like I literally hate that my
Same.
life revolves around these
Same.
like little screens. But like
I know.
it's also the biggest blessing that my life can revolve around these screens, like
Right.
kind of wherever. But it's like we said, like I'll admit I
Yes.
have an addiction to social media platforms, my phone, like
Absolutely.
it sucks, but
Same.
also like it's hard to look at it negatively when it's legit my job.
Right. Like, look at
Like,
the life that we get to live. Like,
hmm
so grateful
yeah,
to have this job, and I would have never imagined in a million years like I would be doing this. Like, I always thought I
right.
would be in a corporate job and like
Have to
unhappy and just
request
like
time
climbing the
off and
ladder.
PTO.
Yes, like everybody else, and just going about the day to day, and like every day kind of goes on my own schedule, and like we can do whatever
Hmm.
we want. And yeah, work feels like work sometimes, and there's these cons, but like, yeah, we literally can pick up and go and work from anywhere. But like other people, like even Mark, for example, like he can't do that.
Yeah, no,
His job is
same.
like physical labor. Like he does physical labor. So like he can't just get up and go and do it from anywhere. So
Hmm.
it's, yeah, it's like our careers, we're definitely like really lucky to be able to do that.
Definitely. Even like not having to, because I mean, like you are technically, like when you work with clients, you are kind of working around somebody else's schedule, like in a
Mm-hmm.
couple different ways. Like, you do have to take into consideration, like, okay, they literally cannot get me content by Mondays. I have to, set it in their contract, like you have until Fridays, and then you have to
Yeah.
readjust not that you have to. I mean, it's just kind of the way that I would do things, but like, you are kind of working around someone else's schedule, or like if you do weekly or monthly calls with one of your clients, like you are kind of working
Yeah.
around their schedule to make sure that you can fit in your schedule. And again, you could look at it as not that way. You could send your schedule to your client and be like, this is what you have to choose from, like make one of them work. But like one of the benefits of
Mm-hmm.
what I do for that client is I get to do my work from home and from anywhere. Like it's not a problem for me
Mm-hmm.
to move some things around to fit a client in for the only time that week that works
Yeah.
for them, because they
Right.
do own a brick and mortar business where they're going in from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and don't really
Mm-hmm.
have that choice. So it is kind of hard to look at it as not working around someone else's schedule, but we obviously have more time and flexibility to work with.
No, that's true though. And like one of my clients is in California, so our time
Hmm.
difference is 3 hours. So like when I'm working on her stuff at like 9 a.m., or like I literally have to wait to post things. So
Yeah,
like now when I go on a trip, I can't just post something at 9 a.m. when I usually like would want to, or even
because it's
11 a.m. I have
convenient for
like,
you.
well, actually no, I do post at 11 for her because
Hmm.
yeah, because it's convenient. Like for me, I would do it in the morning, like early, but I
And just
can't
get it
because
over.
that time difference doesn't make sense. Like she's not gonna be posting at 7 a.m. You know what I mean? Like no one's really on there, and it's like the same goes for actual posts that go out. They go out 1 p.m. my time, but it's like 11 p.m. her time. So
Hmm.
then more people are like awake and being able to like actually see the piece of content. So that's another
Right.
thing. Like if you have clients in different time zones, like I'm going to have a client in the UK, and that's like
I was just gonna
eight
say, I feel
hours
like
or
people forget
6 hours.
about that.
So I'm going to have to be like flexible and available at different times, because I can't just be like, oh no, sorry, only my time zone. You know, like
Right.
it's not fair to do that when this client is obviously like paying you money to like help them. And
Hmm.
I want to be
Right. But
flexible. I mean, it's not
also,
going to be like 12 a.m. my time. It'll probably be like
no,
6 p.m. But who
which like is
cares?
fine.
Like,
But also,
that's
you
fine.
need to, take that into consideration before you say yes and committing to working with a client like that. Because
Yeah.
there's just so many parts of this that are over glamorized. Like, yeah, you get to work with clients literally anywhere in the world. I've worked with people in Australia. I've worked with people in Britain. Like, I've worked with the most random
Yeah.
locations, but like, I've had to take it into consideration. Like, does this mean I have to wake up at 3 a.m. to have a call with them? Like, because I'm not doing
Yeah.
that. I don't need a client
No.
that bad, like ever. It's
Yeah.
never worth that. But
No.
there's just so many things. The California thing is big too, because I've worked with a couple different people like in that time zone. And like you said, even making sure you're texting them at an appropriate time, like making
Yeah.
sure, because like I like to do my client post first thing in the morning and just like get it over with, but I have to, you know, double check what time I'm texting people because I might look
Mm-hmm.
down and it's 8 a.m. for us, but for my California client, that's 5 a.m. So like you have
Right.
to just make sure you're being, you know, recognizing that and being respectful of
Mm-hmm.
that. So it's just hard again when we see all of these clicks like, oh, make your own schedule, work on your own time. And it's like, but if you want to provide this client with
Mm-hmm.
a good experience, like you do have to kind of work around their schedule, not
Yeah,
build
or
your
they'll
entire
find someone in
life.
their time zone.
Exactly. Which like is usually fine. Like that's fine.
Yeah.
But there are ways to make it work on different time zones as long as you're willing to kind of be a little bit flexible. Because like you just said, like
Yeah.
you working with that client in the UK, like you had to go into that knowing you were okay with doing those posts at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Like you have to, you know that that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. Again, comes down to the boundaries and the things that you put into place when, not even when you first start, like as you go, because it can be a struggle for sure. Like I know we've talked about
Yeah.
this. Like there's times where I'm just like not doing anything and I'm just like sitting on my computer, like watching TV, and I'm like, I could just like knock out this calendar for next week. Like, why don't I just go
Yeah,
in and do
literally.
that? Right. But it's 10
Every
p.m.
night. Every night.
Right.
I'm always like doing something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's many nights where I'm like, I'm all done with work because I feel like for us it also never ends. Like there's always something to do.
Always
Or like
something to
there's
do.
always another trend, always
Yep.
another video, always another like idea. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
always something where it's not like, oh, I'm done for the day. I finished
Mm-hmm.
everything. Like I don't think there's ever like I'll finish my to-do list for the day, but I'm like, but tomorrow I could catch up and I could like
Get
start this.
ahead.
Like
Yeah.
yesterday I worked till 11:30 because I was like, oh, I'm going to finish this content calendar for the next 2 weeks and now I don't have to worry about it today. So I helped my future self.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there's little things like that you battle with yourself where, like, you'll sit down at night and someone asked me the other day, they're like, do you work like every single day? Like, do you ever feel like it's like a lot? And I'm like, I mean, yeah, pretty much every single day I'm doing at least something. On the weekends,
Yeah.
I try not to obviously work the entire day, but like in the
Some
morning, I'm
stuff.
working,
Yeah.
or like at night, I'll do some work because I'm like, it'll just help me in the future.
Yep.
And people don't get that with like corporate jobs. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
why would you want to be doing that? And I'm like, but I get this life and like
Mm-hmm.
I am lucky that this happens because of that, or like I get to travel and I get to do things on my own time. So it's just, yeah, it's like pros and cons and you pick and choose your situation and what you want to do, but I don't
Yeah.
find that it's like a hassle or like I get annoyed or that I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I have to work on a Sunday night or like
Right.
do this. I'm just like, oh, it's just
Honestly,
like my
Sunday nights
life.
are my favorite.
Same. I get to get ready for the week. I go
Yep.
grocery shopping. It's like a grocery shopping. Like literally, it's the same kind of thing. I think about it that way. I'm like, okay, I'm prepping all the like the
Yep.
stuff I need for the week for the meals because then it's gonna make everything so much easier when I try to decide what I want to eat.
Mm-hmm.
I already know what I want because I got all these things at the grocery store. It's like that with
Yep.
work. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna prep all these things for the week. That way,
Mm-hmm.
I go into it not like chaos. That's why on like trips, that's another thing. When you get back on like a Tuesday or something, you're like,
You
oh my
walk
god,
into
my whole
chaos.
schedule's like thrown off because I had those 2 days that I
Mm-hmm.
would have been working. Like I remember the other day you were like, I'm gonna have shoots on like Wednesday, Thursday, like whatever, and
Mm-hmm. It threw
it
off
just
my
throws you
literal full
off.
week.
And yeah, it's a lot.
And it's
But
definitely oh my god, what was I gonna say? I feel like I have Alzheimer's or something.
it's okay. I'm gonna forget everything we talked about in this episode. So by the
Oh,
time
I
it's out.
remember. Because to a lot of people, it's probably like super fucking inappropriate that we work at like 10, 11 p.m. Like, I know that there
Yeah.
are people who look at that, but I know for me, I don't want to speak for you, I'm just assuming, but like, I don't see that as wrong because, like you said, it's kind of like getting yourself ahead. That's why Sunday nights are my favorite because I
Yeah.
sit down, I look at everything that I have to do for the week, and like if I'm not doing anything, I don't mind just kind of like getting ahead on a couple of those things. Or like even
Right.
when I'm scheduling in what I have to do every week, I usually give myself like 30-minute buffer times, just like in case the dogs need to go out or like I need to make food or whatever. So like if I know that a task or like something I have to do for my clients will take me an hour and a half, like I schedule 2 hours on my calendar. And then what ends
Yeah.
up happening is by Friday, I've finished a lot of things like either early or not using those extra 30 minutes that I scheduled in, that I have
Mm-hmm.
time to get ahead on other things, or I can like move a time block from Thursday to Tuesday because I finished everything else that I had to do.
Yeah.
That by the time Friday comes around, I don't really have a ton to do, so I just keep getting
Yeah.
myself ahead for the next week. So that
Yes. Yeah,
when
Fridays usually are like pretty chill for me
Mhm.
because of those Saturday, Sundays that I'll spend
Yeah.
like prepping for the week before. So like you pick and choose. You can have your like Friday or you can have your Saturday or your Thursday, whatever day. Like Monday can be your CEO day.
Mhm.
Like you can do whatever. And I was actually just gonna bring this up. Oh my god. Now I'm losing my train of thought. It was oh, shit. This was a oh. A good schedule that I got from you actually is not taking calls on certain days. So, like, only
Mhm.
doing calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Like, now my calendar is only Tuesdays and Thursdays people can book calls, and it's from like 9 to 11, I think.
Mhm.
And if people obviously like need a different time, I'll offer that.
Right.
But I loved that to just like not have it every single day because then that throws you off too. If
Mhm.
someone books a call at like noon on a Wednesday, but then you had something penciled in and you're like, shit, but
Right.
I do want to do that call. So don't always be available
Mhm.
to everyone,
Yeah,
like
that
with
was
calls.
something that like changed my life when I started implementing it, because like I just kind of broke
Mm-hmm.
the days of the week down as like, okay, Mondays are my days to get all of my shit together, whether it's for myself or my clients, like we are good to go for the week. Then there's like one or two other days that I allow people to book calls. I feel like that sounds like
Yeah.
I'm giving them permission to, but like when I was doing a bunch of
Yeah.
discovery calls and stuff, like I wouldn't even open up availability on other days. Like it was just certain
Yeah.
days. That way I knew that on Tuesday night, my schedule for Wednesday wouldn't be changing at the last minute. And like you can obviously
Mm-hmm.
set like parameters for when people can book, like, oh, it has to be about like over 24 hours away. But just
Yeah.
giving yourself those specific days to know, okay, if I have calls, they're going to be on Tuesday. And like you said, there's nothing wrong with like extending that or changing that for somebody, but it's just so off-putting to again like plan your entire day for it to then be like completely derailed because five people booked discovery calls, which is like a great problem to
Right.
have. But like,
Yeah.
let's
It's
say
just,
you can do that work on Friday or Saturday or Sunday. You know what I mean? Like, you're kind of screwing yourself there.
mm-hmm.
But there's so many pros and cons to
Yes.
all of this. And like, at the end of the day, we're obviously very blessed and we're very happy and not
Yeah.
complaining at all. But there's a lot of self discipline that goes into it. I think that's kind of the most important trait that you can
Mm-hmm.
have is really strong self-discipline and like being able to set those boundaries. And like when I say boundaries, I don't mean like working until 10 p.m. shouldn't go above your boundary. You know what I mean? Like that's past your boundary.
Yeah.
You shouldn't work past a certain time. I mean like kind of continuing from what we talked about on the last episode, like not letting a client think it's okay to call you in the middle of a vacation and ask you to like throw up a couple extra stories. Like you have to be like,
Mm-hmm.
no, that's not my job. Like I can give you, or sorry, you shouldn't say it like that. That was kind of rude. You should just say, like, hey, like, we kind of already talked about this. Like, you should have already
Yeah.
told them, you know, I'm not going to be there. But an example I have of this is a client that I used to work with. There was more than one person, like, in their company, and they every week would ask me, what are we doing for LinkedIn? What are we doing for LinkedIn? Have we shared our posts on LinkedIn? And I remember the day that I was like, I don't do LinkedIn. Like that was
Yeah.
nowhere in my job description. I don't know how to work LinkedIn. Whereas there might be other people that are like, oh yeah, no problem. Like I'll cross post it over there. And like, could I do that? Yeah, probably. But like, I don't know LinkedIn. That's not my platform. I wasn't brought on this team for LinkedIn. And I remember the day,
Mm-hmm.
like in one of the meetings that I said that, and I was like, I'm sorry, like if that comes off as rude, but it's rude to ask me every week like about a platform that I'm not managing.
Yeah.
Like you just need to make sure you're putting those boundaries in. So like I don't mean
Mm-hmm.
like the
It's okay to say
classic.
no.
Yes, and that's what I mean. I don't mean
Don't
like the
get walked all
classic
over.
boundaries of like working hours and don't work past this time. I mean like you are in control of your schedule and like it's you are the only person that can say yes or no. And you have to be
Yeah,
ballsy enough to tell
if you wanna
someone
not
no.
work past 5, or if you don't want to work past 6, or if you don't want to start work till 10, or if you want to start work at 6 and
Mhm.
end at 1, like literally whatever you want to do. But Yeah, the boundaries is very different than just like your schedule or like your
Mm-hmm.
work hours. And it's okay to say no, and it's okay to like refer back to your contract with people, because a lot of the time they'll forget, or like they don't have it pulled up of like, oh, this is how many edits I get. And this is
Mm-hmm.
like, they have a lot of things going on. So I think subconsciously sometimes clients don't mean to
Mm-hmm.
have scope creep
I
or like
agree.
ask for things they don't get, but sometimes they do. And if you let it happen over and over, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, that extra, oh, we'll just throw this up real quick, it's like it becomes a regular thing of
Yeah.
like, well, you've done it so many times, why am I now being charged for it?
And
And
once
it's
you've
like,
done it a couple times, it's
that's
like
the tough
weird to
part.
say no. Like you can't like
Right.
do it a couple times and then they ask and all of a sudden be like, actually, no. I mean, you can for sure, but like it's just
Yeah.
weird. Like you kind of let them think it's okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of, have
Which,
ruined
like,
that
yeah, I
for
get that.
yourself.
I would feel the same way. If I
Sure.
had somebody, I'd be like, oh, yeah, like, why are you charging me now when you've done
Mhm.
it for the past 6 months
Right.
or 3 months,
But
whatever?
that's
So,
the
yeah,
only way
make
to
sure that
protect
it's
your
not.
peace and your boundaries to make sure
You could
you're.
say, like, this one time I'll do it, but just so you know for next time, like,
Mm-hmm.
this is what it's going to cost you, or like, we
Yep.
can knock down a post for the next week or something.
Yep.
Like, I just recently did that. I was like, hey, this week is going to be 3 reels just because we're launching something.
Mm-hmm.
So next week is just going to be one. Are you okay with that? And she was completely fine with that. So, like,
Yeah.
just communication, like, just communicate. And, like, you're a business owner as much as they are. So, like, I think if you have this, like, respectful relationship and, like, you appreciate the other person and, like, respect their time, they're not going to be upset at you if you're like, hey, this is actually not in our
Mm-hmm.
contract. Like, that's just you being a professional at the end of the day. It's not you being mean, or like, I felt this way, like, with a client. I was like, oh, they keep asking me for like out of scope things, like over and over. And I just felt like I was constantly the person that was like, so it's actually not in our contract, or like, this actually costs extra. And I was
Right.
like, oh my God, I feel like I'm being such like a, not stingy, but like,
Just looking for money. I
just
know
yeah,
what you
just looking
mean.
for extra money
Mm-hmm.
anywhere where it really wasn't like on me, because that was out of scope
It was
of
them
what I was
asking for
doing.
more work. Yeah. But it
Right.
puts
And
you
I'm
in
like,
such a
it just
weird
makes you
position.
feel, yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
makes you feel so weird, because like if you've done it before, which like I have done it before a
Right.
few times, I'm like, I'm just too busy to do that now. And like, I'm not who the business owner I was 3 years ago.
Right.
Like, it is okay to raise your rates. It's okay to say no. It's okay to have boundaries. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
are a professional business owner and you need to act like it. Otherwise, you're going to get walked all over.
And it's crazy that you say like looking at it as business owner to business owner, because I've never had a client get upset with me for saying no to doing something extra ever. Like anytime I've ever said no,
Mm-hmm.
it's never been like, "Oh my God, we're so mad, we're
No.
canceling with you." Like they're just like, "Oh, okay, no worries." Like you hype it up so much in your head that like, "Oh my God, if I say no to this, like I'm
I
going to lose
did.
a client." I mean, sometimes it does happen, but like for the most part, like
Yeah.
business owner to business owner, they're gonna understand that like, if one of their employees called them to just like drop what they were doing and do something for them, they would probably have to say, I can't right now. So it's like you
Yeah.
have every right to say that. Always goes back to like what's in your contract and like what you've agreed upon. Like if you put in your contract that if you haven't put in your contract what your, outline is, what you're technically doing, you're screwing yourself, and they might think it's
Yeah.
okay to ask for these things. So, and it's cool too because like as you go, like you continuously pick up on these things. So like I in my
Mm-hmm.
contracts now, or like in my welcome guide with clients, I will literally put like additional tasks X amount of dollars per
Yeah.
hour, and then we can figure it out from there. But like they have that available to them from the beginning. They know if something is
Mm-hmm.
extra, this is what it is, this is how much it costs.
I have that too. I don't like put the price to it because I don't know what it's going to be, but I have
Right.
like any other additional tasks will be charged at the
Mm-hmm.
contractor's rate of choosing. So then they know that like this is the scope of work, and then anything else is going to be extra, because
Right.
a lot of people think things go together. Like we said, like you're a social media manager, you're a sales manager, like things don't go together. They're separate things, separate
Mm-hmm.
entities, separate jobs.
Yeah.
So making that clear in your contract is so important too.
Right. Or even like I've had a client who, I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it. So like they would launch a new product or service and they would be like, "Can you just go in our link tree really quick and like move that one to the top?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
legit takes 2 seconds. Like it actually takes less than 2 minutes to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not your Linktree manager. I'm not your website manager. Like I'm not, you know what I mean? So like it's when it came down to it, I could have very easily been like, no. But it's all at your discretion too. Like there are other clients that I would have probably been a little bit more strict with it, or there are clients that I know respect me for doing that, and they're genuinely asking because they probably don't even know how, not because they just like don't feel like doing it.
Yeah.
So I try to just
or like want to pay you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's I usually the thing. This is the weird thing. I will usually do the most extra things for people that I know would pay me for them, just because I respect them for offering to pay for it.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, oh my God, don't worry about it. Like I'll throw this extra story up for you. And then there's previous clients that are like penny, nickel, and diming every little last thing that we do. And
Or if they do like extra little things for you, like say they, for example, like the gym or something, if they like throw you like 5 free classes or something, like you scratch their back, they'll scratch yours. Like sometimes relationships are like that, where like you become friends with your clients, and like a lot of people are against that as well. But like all of my clients have my phone number. Like there was only one that didn't have my phone number because we were only working together for like 4 months, and we just they honestly like didn't have to look at the content. Like same thing. It was like very like, I trust what you're doing, and like go for it. So but usually like I will give out my number to my clients, like we'll text, we talk. It's very like chill, and but there is that level of like professionalism when it comes down to like a boundary or something serious. I'm not afraid to be like, hey, listen, like that's not included, or this is extra, or whatever. And it took me a lot of time and like courage, I guess, because I was so scared to lose somebody, or I was scared to like upset somebody. I feel like I was like people pleasing in the beginning, and it's definitely hard to tell people no, even not clients, like even friends, or like I don't know, anyone to set boundaries with. But like if you don't set those boundaries with people of like, I'm not okay with this, or like I don't want to do that, like speak up. Most of the time I'm the person where it's like, but what do you want to do, or like what do you like? And I'm kind of trying to still even learn that of like, well, I think I want this, but like if you want something else, you get that too. You can get it. But like I think I want this. So we don't have to get the same thing. We don't have to like the same things or want the same things.
And it's hard to get to that point. Like it's not easy to get to that point. Like I would say for the first
boundaries are hard
with anyone. With literally
anyone. A relationship, a friend, a parent, everything.
Yeah.
You have to create boundaries with everyone.
And that's what it comes to. And I feel like boundaries has become like such like a buzzword that like people just use after they take therapy. But like it's so after they take therapy, after they go to therapy.
They take therapy. Like, I think I need to take therapy.
Gaslight, narcissist.
Yes.
Like there's so many words that I'm just like, I can tell that you just like heard that one time, and like you're just
you're
really
just regurgitating.
Yeah. Like I feel like that's one of them. But it's so true though. Like you are the only one again that can control that. So like if you are just sitting back and like watching these things happen, it's never going to benefit you. But yeah, it all comes down to boundaries and being in charge of the shit that you're doing.
It's also like you're a business owner, and it's not like you're on their payroll. Like they need you. So start acting more confident and having those boundaries. Otherwise people will be like, oh, this person's a joke, I'm not taking them serious. Like however you act, whoever you're trying to attract, like you need to be that person, act like them and be yourself, obviously, but like
and like even
build that
thinking
confidence.
about it, like let's like switch the roles. Would you want to make somebody feel like that? Like would you want to make somebody feel like you don't appreciate or respect their time enough to not compensate them for things that they're doing? Like no, I would want somebody to tell me like, hey, this is kind of taking advantage of something.
Well, that's the thing. It's so weird to me that like, yes, clients can forget, but I'm like, if we've been on the same package and you've been getting the same things,
I know, I'm like, how do you not
and then
know?
you're still asking me and you don't know. It's like me asking Gabby to do something and like not paying her for it. Like I already know she gets paid for the same things that she's always done, and like I know what it is, and like I'm the one that's paying you. So like if you're the one that's paying me, you know what you're paying for, or you should know what you're paying for. And if you don't, like that's your problem. Yeah, you should. But if you don't, like you should figure that out where your money is going. But like I just can't imagine asking someone for a service and like expecting it to just throw this up or like just
No.
do this. Like I would never even ask Gabby to post like a story without being like, I
No.
will compensate you. Like I don't care if it's going to take you 2 minutes. Like
You're getting compensated for those 2 minutes.
right.
Send me
You're
a
still
prorated Venmo.
You know, there's good things, there's bad things like any industry, but we absolutely love what we do and don't want to steer you to not pursue this or like not keep going with this because it has, I think, more pros than cons, but
Just
you
think
can't win them
about
all, you know?
You really
A
can't.
win's a win.
A win's a win. I don't care what you say. A win's a
Bubbles.
win. Well, we love you all so much.
Yeah.
That's the end of our little deep dive of pros and cons of having a flexible schedule, even though we ping ponged everywhere. We hope that you will come keep up with us on Instagram at Socially Unfiltered Pod. And we will be back next week. It's pretty confirmed. I'm going to say we're going to have Brie on as a guest
Yes.
next week. We are
Yes.
so excited. If you aren't already familiar with her, go creep her Instagram a little bit. You'll be obsessed with her. It's at Socially Brie, and Socially is with 2 Y's. That's how much I love her, as I have her handle memorized. She was on my old podcast with me a couple months ago and was supposed to be on Veronica's before we like put the red light on Veronica's podcast. So we're very, very excited to have her. She's the queen of storytelling, but she will be here with us.
Yes, we're so excited.
Yes, she will be here with us for next week's episode, and
We're so excited to have her.
we're very excited
If
to
you've
have
been wanting
her.
to learn about storytelling and how to incorporate it into your business, then this episode will be for you. If you guys hear Benny panting, I'm so sorry. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see
Benny is our unofficial
somebody needs
fourth host.
attention.
I know. They're
Yes,
probably like, "Can you guys
just-
please get off of your computers?
know.
You've been doing this forever."
It's been 84 years.
And to
Six
dogs, that's
hours
like-
later.
Yeah, to dogs, it's a lot longer.
Done. Okay, well, yeah, we love you guys. Follow us on Socially Unfiltered Pod to keep up and rate us, like us, review, share with a friend.
Yes, yes.
Whatever it is you do.
Just keep doing
And we'll
you,
see
baby.
you next week with Bree. So excited.
Yeah, we can't wait. And if Bree, if
All
you're
right.
listening to this, we can't wait to have you.
Yes, I love you,
Everyone,
Queen.
Say bye, Benny.
Bye. Say bye.
Bye.